Alright, hey folks, so in this video I'm going to be doing yet another 70 to 80 speedrun, this time on a Horde Guardian Druid, because the last one that I did was on a Devastation Evoker. You'll notice here I'm going to be kind of scrambling, because just like in the previous speedrun, I sort of kind of waited until the last second to actually start recording. There is a limited time buff that I need to benefit from that goes away in 9 minutes, and if I start, like, literally in a second, I'm going to have just barely enough time to fully benefit from it. I got my Darkman Fair buff. I got all my stuff. I think I'm good to go. Let me just quickly double check. I've not used Alchemical Chaos, but it doesn't matter because that's not actually the one I want to use. Let me double check. Eroded File of Quick Hands. That's the one I want. All right. So basically, just quick premise for a lot of these speedruns. Effectively, I am testing specifically the 70 to 80 portion of leveling, so I'm carrying over all these buffs and not including that in the timer, because in a normal, 10 to 80 speedrun or 1 to 80 speedrun, you would obviously have all this still rolling, so, that we're starting the run assuming you already have all that stuff. Again, like I said, I don't really have a ton of time to talk. I'll explain as I go. Let me do Mark of the Wild. That one is also important. And as we get into the run, I'll kind of walk you through some of the differences in case you already watched the Devastation Evoker run or watched my guide. So start the timer in 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm going to mount up. And just like before, we're going to start with the Darkman Fair, because that is up, and obviously we want to do that. So, mostly, this is going to follow the same route that I used in the Devoker run, and that is outlined in my recent 70 to 80 leveling guide, where, I broke this entire process down into, I think it's an 18-minute guide. So a lot more digestible if you just want to understand what do you need to do to replicate this for yourself. That video should hopefully help you out a lot. But there are a few slight differences, and that is because inherently, and this is of course something that I mentioned in my guide, there is a bit of variance when it comes to what is available every single day in the leveling route. Sometimes you just don't have access to all the same things because delves can be a little bit random. So we're just going to go ahead and craft this. This is Darkmoon Quest. Grab that. All right, pretty straightforward. I'm going to use my Radin Axe here. There are still a few times when Radin Axe is mildly useful. Start by turning in all my Darkman Fair quests, as is tradition. Can't go wrong with that. And then we'll Radin Axe again. There's the cooking thing over here. I could use a cancel or a macro for that, but we're fine. Alright, bred the frogs, and then I guess it's not showing up properly, so I gotta do this. And one of the nice things is, I explained this in my Devoker run, but because of some, weird things that happened at the end of the 10 to 70 portion of that speedrun, it wasn't like... I wasn't perfectly showcasing the very start of the route, so there was, some weird stuff where the initial quest where you actually teleport to Silithus wasn't there, and that actually lost me a little bit of time. That kind of made things problematic for me. So the fact that I'm going to have that here will really help me out, because what I'm going to do, and I couldn't do this in the previous run, is the moment I'm done with Darkman Fair, I'm actually just going to use the scroll, because you got to use that at some point, and it teleports you. So now instead of having to go all the way back and do the Dornigal stuff, I just click this, boom, free teleport. And again, got to do this at some point anyway. It is going to be down to the wire. I think I should manage. Okay. Worst case scenario, if I miss 1 or 2 crafts, it's not the end of the world for me. I would ideally like to have all this done in time. Would kind of suck to just barely miss it. And, I can always repeat this run again. Alright, we're going to talk to Bran. I'm going to take this, get Isle of Dorn, that's all I should really need, and then all that stuff. Alright. So now I'm going to go to my professions. I'm going to abandon, unlearn, going to unlearn. We're going to head over to engineering. I'm going to learn that. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter. Alright. Now we're going to go over to enchanting. And we're going to, that's not the trainer, we're going to learn enchanting. Do all this, equip my enchanting tools. And then I'm going to go over here, do a Gleaming Shatter, and Shatter All. Holy, that goes fast. Yeah, with this speed boost, that's another thing that somebody actually pointed out in the comments. I had no idea that the Dragon Isles crafting speed file applied to the new crafting, and evidently it does, and that is super nice. That actually really, really helps. So thank you to the person who pointed that out. I just assumed that Blizzard had fixed that, but I should have known. It's Blizzard, you know, they're not gonna think of little technicalities like that the tooltip literally says it only applies to Dragonflight crafting, but they just made it apply to everything. So, alright, we're gonna talk to you, we're gonna talk to you, get the Enchanter's Satchel, get this, and then we're gonna talk to you, grab that, get this, and I'm also using Werebear in this run. Doesn't actually change anything, it's purely cosmetic, but you know, a lot of people always criticize my bear form, and they're like, you always use the ugliest bear forms, which I disagree with. I actually quite enjoy my bear forms, but some people really hate them, so whatever. Just for the people who complained, I'm using the fancy Werebear, because everybody seems to love it so much. It's everybody's favorite bear appearance, so alright, I guess. Alright, let's get some nice loading screen RNG, because I'm down to the wire. I only have 2 minutes. And realistically, I should be able to get all this done in 2 minutes, but it is going to be close. While I go here, enchanting. Come on. Come on, game! Work with me here. Alright. One of the reasons that it has taken me so long to get this run started is because I forgot I did not have the wormhole generator available to me, because I have it on live servers, but this is the PTR, and for some reason it did not copy over. Oh no. Lag! Not now! If I DC, it's Jover for me. My entire game is frozen. My entire game is frozen. Oh no. Okay. Wait, we're fine. Okay. I need to do this. Fuck. Select item to enchant. Okay, we're gonna do this first. Okay, I'm gonna go to specializations. This. Yes. 5 points. It's fine, I can get the rest later. Alright, now we're going to generate a wormhole. My bags are probably fucked. Oh, God. Okay, please take me somewhere good, wormhole. So that was actually perfect. It just hit 5 a.m. and the buff should have just gone away. I actually ended up doing that down to the last second. Totally calculated. Totally wasn't just, you know, stressed and running out of time and doing prep until the last second as usual. Long loading screen, though, so this is my punishment. Very long loading screen. Holy moly. Gives me a good time to take a sip of coffee, but yeah, this is the only issue with doing these runs in the PTR. It's like, in some ways it speeds it up, but, and the main reason I'm doing this in the PTR, right, is just to give myself multiple attempts. That's the worst place it could have taken me. Right, because that way I can get, like, all the gold on this and just, you know, kind of keep repeating it. It takes the gold cost concern out of the routing, which I think is good, right? It sucks to kind of feel like I can't realistically repeat routes because, oh no, it's just too expensive. Now, I can only equip 2 items in the embellishment category. Alright, well, I'm just going to delete this stuff because I guess it's counting Dragon Isle's embellishments against me. I didn't even learn that enchant. Okay, yeah. Still ended up being fine. Or the enchanting knowledge, I meant to say. Where's my other ring? I'm missing my other ring. Where'd it go? Did I forget to mail it? No, it's over here somehow. What the hell? How'd I get over there? Just gonna equip all this stuff. Trust me, this will make a very big difference. It may be like, you know, does this really save time? When your character is doing infinitely more damage... Where's my helmet? Oh my god, I never got the helmet. Okay. It's fine. I'm sure I'll get a helmet at some point in the questing route. Yeah, this is one of those things where I now remember I literally had, like, a reminder at one point. Get, like, the helmet, the crafted helmet, and I just completely forgot to do it. So, this run technically isn't even as fast as it could theoretically be, because I'm forgetting that. And it's gonna make, like, you know, a slightly better helmet would not really meaningfully change the amount of time that it takes me to complete this, but that's... I can't believe I forgot that. It's one of those things where, like, every single time I do one of these speedruns and I forget something like that, you know, like, in this case, forgetting a crafted helmet, you know, I'll get comments. Most people I do think are understanding, but I will get 1 or 2 comments like, you know, how do you, like, manage to do all this prep and forget that? But at the end of the day, there are so many things that go into the speedrun, probably a few things that I won't even mention directly, that, you know, the prep kind of you need to do for it is a lot. And something is going to slip by the wayside, especially... I'm kind of, like, a little bit strapped for time. The buff makes it a little bit harder, because, you know, I didn't have a chance to do double checks. Normally, before I start speedruns, if there's nothing like that, I will sit down and go through my checklist and be like, okay, did I actually remember to mail everything over? And, which crash site? Bran. Yeah, he's still at sheep. I gotta... So normally I will have a chance to do that. I don't really get a chance to do that much when I'm down to the wire like this, but also right now, in case you're watching this like much farther in the future and you're unfamiliar with like when this is being recorded, a lot of people are probably aware that there's like a big stacking XP buff thing this week, and there's a lot of stuff going on that you can like get modifiers with. So obviously I'm doing speedruns during that because that's just going to make things faster. And I forgot to buy drums. It doesn't really matter because 99% of the time when I do these speedruns, I actually forget to use the drums that I bought. So it's actually not going to meaningfully change anything. But I should have probably still bought drums. Just for situations like that. Would have been nice. Oh well. But yeah, because there's all these buffs this week, you have the anniversary buff, the 10%, and then the other 10% for a total of 20%. You have obviously War Mode buff, that one's standard. You have Darkmoon Faire buff. There is Hollow's End buff, and one thing that I just want to quickly clear up, because there's just so much misinformation floating around, and it makes me sick that, like, all of these news websites continually regurgitate this shit without actually doing due diligence and checking to make sure that the thing they're reporting on is correct. But, like, Icy Veins Wowhead, they've made articles about, like, get, like, up to whatever percent XP, and they include the Hollow's End buff. The Hollow's End buff does not, and has not ever, stacked with the Darkmoon Faire buff. That is just not a thing. Also, the Hollow's End buff is not a flat XP increase. The tooltip says it increases your experience, but the actual, like, buff itself only gives you mob kill XP. And again, it does not stack with Darkmoon Faire buff. And Darkmoon Faire buff is a flat 10% increase. So all of these, like, websites have been reporting that you can get this massive XP buff, which, you know, includes the, Darkmoon Faire buff and Halloween buff, and that's just not a thing. So a lot of people think this week is really, really crazy because of that. And it really is not as big of a deal as you think. There's actually... So if you're watching this, like, in November and you're like, damn, I missed it. Well, here's the nice thing. Because the Hollow's End buff is not actually a thing, and effectively all those websites have lied to you, everything that you can do this week, you can just do in December, because it's going to overlap still. The anniversary will still be going, in December, and Darkmoon Faire will roll around then too, so you could just do that. Like, there's nothing actually changes. So I'm probably going to do more runs then. It's why I'm not super concerned about doing like a bazillion runs in this one time frame. The only thing that's nice about the Hollow Sendoff is you can do that, and you get one free quest. That's nice. That is the only advantage that Hollow's End does. But look at how much XP I got from that. 8,000. It doesn't really scale super well with higher levels, so it's actually much better on lower level speedruns, which is why, and this was kind of back to my point of why I've been so stressed putting all this stuff together. I've also been prepping a different speedrun, 10 to 70 speedrun, and because of that, it's just been a lot of effort. And I've kind of only just had time barely to throw this run together at the last second, because also I wasn't sure if I'd be doing it today. The thing with 70 to 80 speedruns is that because of Delve RNG, you never really know until the day of if you're actually going to be doing a speedrun. It's just one of those things of like, you get on that day, you check the delves, oh hey, there's good variance today, I guess I need to do a speedrun today. And you go. And I checked today, it was solid variance. I'll talk about my plan for that when we get there, because there are, it's solid, but there's a few catches in terms of this. I got the Earth Wounds, I got Wanted the Burrow Breaker, yep, I got the 2 that I needed. Okay. I also need to pick my hero talents. I don't think I've done that. It's a little bit difficult to find time to do all that stuff. But yeah, I earlier today checked elves, said, fuck, I should probably do a 10 to 70 speedrun today, shouldn't I? And then I had to scramble to get all this stuff put together. Oh my god, I hate that it does that full screen, like, fucking flashbang. That is so annoying. There we go. Okay, let's get going on the right track. Let's get the Burrow Breaker down. Let's pop all this stuff. One thing that you may notice is I am using a PvP health trinket. And you may be thinking to yourself, like, isn't that kind of bad? Like, why would you want to use a trinket that just gives you max HP? And normally, so this thing, right, just increases your maximum health. Oh, fuck. I always misjudge the distance into the water. It's so hard to see. But the thing about this is it actually gives you a 2-set bonus that gives you 12% agility while in war mode. And of course, I'm going to be in war mode most of the time, which is kind of massive because this trinket is very good, and you definitely want to run that. And there is another way to access that. So in my Evoker speedrun, I used the normal insignia that I'm using right now, which is obviously very strong. And then I used the Dragonflight version of the insignia, which actually counted. It gave me credit for the 2-set bonus. Problem with that, actually, I didn't even realize my, that's hilarious. My Bran XP and Curios actually doesn't carry over onto the PTR. So yet another thing that, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot by doing this on the PTR a little bit. I still think overall, it's easier for me to do it on the PTR. Like, I mentioned this in my guide, right? Having better Curios and stuff on Bran will save you, obviously, a very, very marginal amount of time. But it is so trivial. You will never notice the difference between having no Bran. This is actually good, because I'm literally doing the speedrun with a level 1 Bran. So if anybody ever tries to say, oh, the only reason that delves were so quick for you is because you had a level 60 Bran, which I do on live servers, I can just point to this PTR run and be like, all the character powers in the players. Also, what is this? Delves testing. What? Item level set to 519. I think that actually hurts me. Yeah, that actually makes me less powerful. So apparently there's a blanket aura that scales your character power down because on the PTR they have a testing aura in place. Okay. See, what's so nice about all of this, though, is even though there are differences in these PTR runs, so far every single difference has actually made things worse for me. Which I'm fine with, I would rather play with a handicap than have to drop, like, fucking 80,000 gold on every single speedrun. That's That's maybe preferable a little bit. And I should note, right, obviously, because I'm going to get so many questions about this, I always do every single video, you do not need to spend 80,000 gold to do this leveling route. The stuff that costs so much money are, like, the BOEs, and the BOEs make basically zero difference in the leveling time. It's just one of those things where, if I'm going to do a super fast speedrun, you might as well go all out, right? It's more for the spectacle of it, of having all the fancy stuff. I've always preferred to do things like that. Because it's just fun that way. It's more enjoyable to watch me basically play with all the toys. But you can literally do this run, and the time difference for you, not having all the stuff that I bought, or even just buying like a fraction, classic thing I love saying every single time, it's a fun thing to say, is that 90% of the time save comes from 10% of the cost. Like a few basic things, Darkmoon Faire quest items, crafting experience, right? If you're gonna do something, spend materials for that crafting experience, because you can see I got like 4 entire levels from just the Darkmoon Faire stuff and the crafting experience. That's like what, 10,000-15,000 gold? And some people may want to skip that too, and I should note my leveling guide has options for you. If you do not want to spend money on the crafting experience, you do not have to. I have included stuff in the guide that lets you, you know, just bypass that. But it is very obviously a major time save. It's going to save you time. But stuff like, you know, some of the BOE items that I had to get for... Oh, I should also note another very good thing. These are technically BOEs, right? But these 528 items, the crafted pieces, I would say that everybody should get those because, well, yeah, it's a BOE. Because it's crafted, it's so easy to get it for dirt cheap. A lot of times you can get it for like 100 gold a piece, and those are available at level 71. And the fact that you can get it at 71 and it's the power level of like a level 76 item, that's really good for you. That's going to actually help you out overall. Especially for the cost. Like, it'll just make your leveling process so much easier. But obviously I've bought a lot of, you know, level 74 BOEs. And those level 74 BOEs, yeah, they're going to be a little bit pricey. Some of those cost me 10,000 gold. Now, that being said, most of the value out of it is just raw item level. I specifically hunted down haste-heavy versions of every single BOE because Guardian Druid loves haste. So there were some times when there was like a version of the BOE that was going for, like, I don't know, very, very, very cheap, like 1,000, 2,000 gold. And I say cheap in the context of, like, you know, for how expensive these things normally are. But it was like first mastery. And if I was just casually leveling a character, I wouldn't care about that. I would just say, yeah, screw it. Get a first mastery piece. Doesn't matter. But because I'm trying to, again, pull out all the stops for this type of speedrun, I specifically hunted down very ideal secondary stat combos for all of those items, just to make sure. I need exquisitely eviscerated muscle there. I also, yeah, I never put that enchant on. And then I never did this. And I never applied those armor kits. Yeah, that's fine. That's the next one. Alright. Alright, and then leave Delve. Add the curio to your collection. Alright. Okay, that should be everything that I need from that. So now we're going to go over here. We're going to do this campaign quest, pick this stuff up, and we're going to go and grab side quests. So where are the side quests? First off, we're going to get the innkeeper here. This will help. We're going to get the pumpkin. I have the fucking... Didn't even think of that. Alright. How close am I to 76? Okay, we're gonna get this one. That's the, yeah, Weapons and Warriors. Then this one, I'm gonna do this immediately. Alright, we're gonna do that. Pottery delivered is here, right? Okay, here we go. That is All or Nothing. Perfect. Yeah, those are the only side quests that I need at this immediate moment. Then we're gonna go over here. I should note, by the way, that the Evoker speedrun that I did, just in case, you know, I'm gonna be abundantly clear. That speedrun was on live servers. So if you're wondering, like, does it need to be on the PTR for this to work? My Evoker speedrun was 1 hour and 38 minutes, and that was also without all of these fancy buffs. So the vast majority of the time save it's not going to have anything to do with the PTR. It's going to come from the anniversary buff, which I did not have when I recorded that run. And the reason why I'm doing this in the PTR, as stated, is purely for cost-saving reasons. Because I want to be able to use all this fancy stuff where, like, if I were to do this run and everything were to go poorly, I would then need to not only, like, start a brand new run and reuse all the items, but if it's on live servers, one of the tricky things with 70 to 80 runs that effectively don't start at level 1, is if you fuck up that character, the run is kind of bricked, because think about it this way, you can't undo those levels on live servers. You can't just magically, like, let's say I hit level 76 and I realize, oh, this run is super scuffed. This is never going to be, like, a good example for a guide or something like that. Well, I can't now just go and undo the fact that I already got 6 levels in this character. That character has now already been leveled up. So in order to get another 70 to 80 run prepared, I would need to level an entire additional character all the way up to 70 just to get that started. So that's one of the other big reasons for doing these runs on the PTR. I have one level 70 druid on live servers, and what I can do is basically prep the run on that one druid, and then copy that druid over like 5 times. And that way, if one of the runs gets scuffed, alright, you know, we'll retry it, right? We just use the other copy of that druid. And that just makes it a lot easier, a lot more speedrun friendly, which I think would be nice. Generally speaking, if I'm just doing a speedrun for the sake of, you know, trying to get like a fast time for demonstration purposes, the PTR is just a better thing to use because of all that stuff. If I use live servers, it's usually because, like, hey, I kind of want to have that character anyway. Like I said in the Evoker run, Evoker is not normally a character that I use for speedrunning purposes, but I don't have a level 80 Evoker, so I obviously wanted to have that. I just figured, hey, I'll record my time. I actually definitely did not expect that Evoker run to be as fast as it ended up being. It was very much a case of, like, you know, I'm just going to do this test run, and we'll see how fast it is, and then this will be kind of like a benchmark for my actual speedrun, which I always intended to do this one. But then the Evoker run just ended up being super fast. Partially because Devastation, I think I just kind of slept on it a little bit. I did not expect it to feel as good as it did for leveling. It is kind of nuts. But also, the route is just really fast. It feels really good, even with a class that I would not consider to be, like, speedrun optimal. Alright, let's do all this. Shapeshifted. I hope the Halloween costume doesn't count as being shapeshifted. I actually kind of hate the costume, so I'm just going to do that. Right, and then there's roleplay. And then while the roleplay is going on, I could do this other stuff. Let me make sure none of my buffs are ticking down, right? No. Weapons and warriors, we can start progressing this. And let's get that. Okay, do this. Do that. Now I would need to get the level 76 pieces. What am I doing? Then I place it here, and I think that's the last objective? Yep. Alright, perfect. Okay, these are the final set of BOEs that I prepared. Let me just make sure I got all of them. And then we're going to do this thing. And I shouldn't really need to rebuff until the end of the run for the most part. I'm just going to do this. I'm actually going to get my food buff now. And then, yeah, I think, honestly, I should be covered for the rest of it. I'm even going to replace the Darkmoon Fair buff, just to be absolutely certain. Alright. And weapon crate in here. So, alright, I mentioned that there's some slight differences with the Devastation Evoker run. What was interesting about the Devastation Evoker run is that I had all-right delve variants in most cases. Like, every single delve was okay. It was decent. And in the case of this run, I actually have pretty bad variants in a lot of delves. However, am I missing? Oh, I forgot to talk to one of the guys down there. Okay. It's not a big deal. I have pretty bad variants in most delves, but the plus side is that I have the best possible variants in the delves that are already good. So particularly, I have Tokrathon Pheromones, and I have Smashing Skarden. And Smashing Skarden is one that I've talked about a few times, that it's, like, insane. It is the best delve variant that you can possibly get. That one I've gotten in a few of my test runs, but never in a recorded speedrun. And Tokrathon Pheromones, I'm really excited because I've never actually had that line up with any of my runs, test run or otherwise. It's just never happened to occur. Every single time I do a speedrun, Tokrathon Pheromones is down. And I've never had both of them line up on the same day. And that's kind of why I decided to do the run today. Because I was, like, kind of on the fence about it. Like, yeah, I mean, the Fungal Folly, I can't really do Fungal Folly because it's just a terrible variant today. A lot of the delves that I would normally consider running... Actually, no, Waterworks also has a solid variant. There's two that are good, and this one is one of the two good ones. Like, also, there's a variant in Sinkhole that I really like, and the Sinkhole variant is down today. So normally, that would kind of suck. That would be like, oh man, you know, not all of the super good variants are active. Also, I think I've kind of messed up here. Because one of them, they got the heal off, it looks like. And they're just healing here. And, yeah. This pull can go downhill really quickly. Maybe if I burst enough of them... I need to be able to stop that Refreshing Tide. Yeah, it's that stupid Refreshing Tide. I always forgot which one it was. It's that. Okay, a little bit of a misplay there, but I think most of those healers are dead, and if another one comes out, I should be able to get it. This, by the way, is one of the reasons Guardian Druid is so good. Every single other class in the game, pretty much, would have died here. They would just be completely smoked. Gotta target this guy down so he stops healing the rest of them. Oh my god, now they're healing each other! I'm gonna try to drag them out of this circle. Yeah, I just shouldn't have pulled this big. I don't even need all these mobs. But now at this point, it's gonna be just faster to finish them off. Minor time loss. I lose maybe a minute here. It's not that bad. It would have been worse if I was playing, like, Windwalker Monk, which, for the... I'm probably going to eventually do, like, a complete 1 to 80 run, and that will be on a Windwalker Monk, because for the entire leveling process, they're both still really close. But I do think the entire thing through and through, Windwalker still kind of pulls ahead. Even though Guardian, especially at this stage, Guardian is just unkillable. That is what I mean when I say Guardian literally cannot die no matter what you do. Go and try to do that pull. I mean, with other tanks, you can do it with, like, Prop Heli, you can do it. But Prop Heli doesn't have a lot of Guardian's other strengths. But, like, try to do that pull with any DPS in the game, and you will just get flattened. Just straight up. Guardian can just do some absolutely obscene shit. You cannot die. Which also kind of makes me really enjoy Guardian speedruns, because there is something very satisfying about just being able to shut your brain off, press thrash, and everything just still kind of dies anyway. Don't even really need to put much thought into it. I should note, it's not everybody's going to know that. I actually play Guardian now at max level. It's my main. So for Mythic rating and all that fun stuff, which I am a Mythic raider. That seems to surprise people still. I feel like I mention it enough, but like every time I stream Mythic raid progression, somebody pops in, they're like, I thought you only played this game for leveling. And like, no, leveling has always been like a fun mini game for me that I do kind of in my free time. And these days I just optimize it because, like, you know, the guides, people enjoy those and I want to keep making them. But the reason I play this game is, at the end of the day, for raiding. Everything else is just kind of an afterthought. And right now, for raids, I play Guardian Druid. And it is quite fun. I do need to look out if there's any helmets that get dropped by the quests. There is a helmet, actually. Perfect. I got one from the Delve with Bran, I think. Where is the quest starter thing here? Alright, let me really quick adjust something. Alright. All my cooldowns are down, which is not ideal. Okay, we got a bunch of that. And I'm going to do just 1 or 2 more mobs, because I'm going to get a few other kills as I finish up these quests. But I need to... We're going to do that, turn in that quest, and then the bonus objective, 25%, I should be able to complete as we go along. Radron's Hovel... So normally, I believe around this point of the Devastation of Ogre speedrun, I actually did Fungal Folly, and I will not be doing that here. Because Fungal Folly... in fact, actually... I guess it's probably still worth doing this quest chain. Yeah. I'm trying to think, do I bother with all the other stuff? Because there's a lot of other side quest hubs that I could maybe cut out. Because I might end up being just so far ahead that, like, is it worth doing all of the stuff that I normally do? Or do I just skip straight to Delves? I think, you know what I maybe do after this? It's so tough to say. I'm definitely going to have to do a lot of Isle of Dorn, no matter what. If I killed these two. Do that. Nice, that's 4 out of 4. And then I should just be able to fly around and interact with the last 2 things. 77, this should be... I'm just going to take the Thrash one. Do I just... Ah, shit. Those mushrooms are just impossible to spot. If they're in the wrong spot, it's kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't need to get into combat with that. Try to avoid combat with that. And then I'll turn this in. Then there's the last quest where I kill 1 mob. Yeah, Rotbark. Looks like he seems to be over here. I almost want to do the really good Delve variants right out of the gate, just because I feel like I am not used to playing with such a massive additional source of experience, right? Like, I have so much extra XP here. And it is unclear to me at this time how many side quests I'm actually going to realistically be forced to do as part of this. So we'll do that. I need to be very careful with conserving my vigor here. It's a little bit tricky. Actually, just going to use Gunshoes here. I know I'm going to get, like, flack with people saying, ow. Every time I run out of vigor, there's a million comments like, yeah, it's so easy to conserve vigor. And it's like, well, yeah, it's easy to conserve vigor if your only goal is to conserve vigor. But a lot of times, especially with all of these speedrunning items, it's just better to, you know, use this instead. This isn't that much slower than Dragon Riding. Oh shit, that doesn't cancel Gumshoes. Just gonna turn this stuff in while I'm here. There's, Wanted the Burrow Breaker over there. So I'm gonna coast here a little bit. There's a little bit of time, but we're fine. And I think, yeah, I just send the Delves. So in that case, how do I want to handle this? And I have my Hearthstone set to, I think if I, yeah, this should give me a good amount of speed. And then, oh, you know what? You know, something I never considered. Is the PTR going to screw me over with the unlock quest for this lever? I think it actually might. If so, we're fine. Yeah, it's going to tell me that my account hasn't unlocked the lever because that stuff doesn't carry over now. This is one of the really annoying things. It's fine because we have Wormhole Generator to account for that. So as long as this doesn't drop me off in, like, the southern corner of the zone, we're okay. We hope for somewhere kind of up north. Ideally, sometimes it can drop you at the Delve entrances. It puts me at Waterworks or Dread Pit. Not directly at Dread Pit, but actually fairly close. So that's totally fine. So this one is pretty good. This is the best Dread Pit variant, Smashing Skarden. So this will be quite nice. And a little bit of lag here. Pick that up. Do all this, pull these mobs. These Skarden give, like, really high mob kill XP, which is pretty good. And then going to run over here. Gotta be careful, because they actually can do a lot of damage to you if you're not careful and you forget to use the thing. The auto attacks give you a stacking debuff that increases your damage taken, and that can get spooky real fast. So we're gonna do that. And do it again. Okay. Trying not to loot, but gotta for this. This is one of the few times where actually doing a little bit of extra mob killing is not the worst thing ever, just because of how efficient it is to kill all of these Skardens. So if there's a pack that I don't necessarily need, it's not the worst thing ever to just make a very slight detour. And I think I mentioned this in my leveling guide, but there is a strategy for leveling that I've seen that revolves just spamming this one delve, and it's not bad. I did test it a bit. It is, compared to, like, a lot of other subpar methods, like just doing bad side quests or doing the campaign, right? It is pretty good. Of course, on your first character, you will always need to still do the campaign. Something that a lot of people forget about, which is why, you know, I always have to tell new players, like, no, even though there are faster methods, you need to do the campaign. Like that, you can't just skip that and get to level 80, because then on all your future characters, you're going to be like, hey, why is nothing scaling to my level? And it's just going to make your life harder. I actually, early on in the expansion, I spoke with a guy who I was, like, helping run dungeons, and he had gotten the 5 warbands character bonus thing, because he was just spamming normal dungeons to level up every single time. And, like, when I was running dungeons with him, I was wondering why we kept only getting the Rookery. And I'm like, okay, we should be getting, you know, 4 or 3 other dungeons in the pool. They've expanded it since, now you can get all of them. But I was like, why the hell are we only getting these? And then I checked, and he hadn't done the campaign on his first character. And he had been leveling multiple characters, just spamming normal dungeons. Not even as a tank, mind you. And I was like, hey, brother, you know, just so you know, your next character, do yourself a favor and do the campaign. Like, it'll make your life so much easier. I don't know if he ever did or not. I didn't follow up, but I hope he did, for his sake. But a lot of people just don't realize that. And it's been a thing for a few expansions now. And that's why I still always put, like, a heavy emphasis on testing and developing, like, a campaign route. Just because, you're gonna need it. Or players will need it the entire expansion, because even if they come back later and there are faster routes still developed, you still gotta do the campaign. Alright, this time I can just leave Delve. I don't need to do the treasure, because I still get credit. I can leave Delve. The egg is keeping me in combat. Fucking hell. Alright. So that's one down. That's pretty good. The only thing is, I was actually planning on using my wormhole generator differently. How do I want to handle this? Not having the wormhole generator is going to suck. It's going to make things a little bit harder. I'm going to do waterworks first. I think that's the play, for sure. Yeah. Do I just wait and turn in the Dread Pit quest later? I think that's what I do. I don't really think there's any reason for me to rush to do that at this immediate moment. That doesn't necessarily benefit me. Come on. Rescue the workers. I want to die to Blazing Wick. That absolutely can kill you, even at low levels. It's into cat form for this, so don't hit me. Yeah, I forgot this variant has the little candle barriers, which, not a big deal. But definitely can slow you down if you're not ready for them. I'm gonna just pull all this stuff and round it up back here. Part of the wilds. This brand... Yeah, see, actually, this is what's so funny. Despite being such a low level, Brand's actually on massive AoE. This is the only time he's ever good. Volley and multi-shot. Those two abilities, for whatever reason, they're actually scaled pretty fine. It's Brand's single target that is just worthless. But that's why I always just do those massive pulls, because if Brand procs that, he actually contributes an okay amount. Keep in mind, level 1 Brand, by the way. And if you go watch the Devastation Evoker run, you're not going to see my level 60 Brand doing anything crazy. They really messed up with the scaling on Brand's level. Like, I don't want it to be so, like, you get level 60 Brand, and you just magically win the game, and he one-shots everything in Delves. But it makes absolutely no sense that a grind that literally took me months, like, over a month to do, close to 2 months, gives me no benefit whatsoever. There is absolutely no reason to level your Brand. It does not change his power at all. That just isn't right. There's no way that anybody can tell me that that is an okay grind. Because when they reactionary nerfed the tuning on Brand, they screwed over how his level impacts him. I don't know the exact math, but it's just very obvious just by playing around with it. And while it would help to have relics here, in fact, actually, since I got Streamlined Relic, I could probably give that to Brand. Yeah, sure. It's fine, I guess. Didn't even think of that. But that stuff, well, it helps. It's not a colossal bonus. It would definitely boost my damage if I had, you know, the increased haste, the increased, what's it called, like, crit damage taken. But also, his application of, like, the Arrowhead Idol crit damage debuff is so low. It's like, it basically doesn't exist half the time. It's so annoying. So, I don't know. Brand really just doesn't matter. And hopefully, if anybody was doubting that, after I said that in my guide, this should definitely alleviate any concerns. And a lot of other people said, like, just set Brand as healer. And, like, yeah, you can set Brand as healer if you want. Sure. But, I mean, like, think about it this way. What would me setting Brand as healer on this character change? Absolutely nothing. I would not be meaningfully tankier if I had Bran as a healer. That would not change my ability to survive anything. So if you are really, really struggling, and you're on a really squishy class, and you don't have strong gear, and you can't live, yeah, set Bran as a healer, by all means. And on a lot of my characters in higher level delves, like tier 8, if I'm farming gear on low level alts, I will set Bran as a healer. That's a perfectly valid option. But for low level delves, I mean, they just never pose any threat whatsoever. So you really shouldn't need to do that in the vast majority of cases. That's a lot of experience. How do I want to do this? Getting the turn-ins of these quests is difficult, because a lot of times the Delver's Call quests are really nice for, like, casual leveling. Because they actually, in many cases, are in super convenient hubs. Like, Gundargaz is a really convenient hub. So there's this weird thing that starts to happen as speedruns get, like, faster and faster, where routing issues that I never had to think of before start to pop up. Because a lot of times it's like, okay, yeah, when the run is 2 hours and you're including this zone or this quest hub or whatever in the run, and you have a natural place to stop, like, at this location, it makes perfect sense to, did I get any? Oh, yeah, because I'm not looting chests, so that won't matter. Maybe I should loot chests because of that. For there, it probably would have taken too long. But, like, for Skittering Breach, for instance, this one, has, like, basically no downtime for Bran opening the door. So maybe I just do that. What was I saying? Right, so a lot of times when you already are including a bunch of stuff in your route and you're like, I'm going to naturally at a certain point stop at this, like, little hub, you never need to think about, like, hey, when am I going to turn in the Delver's Call quest? You just know, okay, well, at a certain point I'm going to do, you know, these side quests, and that will bring me through this town, and then I can just hand it in there. And then as you start to add, like, XP modifiers, which ends up you cut out portions of the route, because if you're getting 30% additional experience, well, now you cut out the most inefficient part of the route. But there's this weird thing where a lot of people think, and this is, like, the perfect way to demonstrate this, a lot of people will believe that, let's say, you have a 30% experience buff. Well, that just makes leveling 30% faster, right? Well, no, because it doesn't make travel time 30% faster. And it starts to add these little things where it's like, I still need to fly to Gundargaz to turn in that Delver's Call quest, even if I'm, you know, gaining so much additional experience that I'm not questing within Gundargaz. The, I think, best example of where you see this kind of stuff happening is if you go to my Mop Remix speedruns. Mop Remix just kind of breaks the game in so many funny ways because you're leveling so quickly that so many things that you just normally wouldn't even think of as being an inconvenience become an inconvenience. Like, loading screens ended up being a pretty significant portion of that speedrun. And, like, teleport times, right? I had to think about, if I'm getting summoned from point A to point B, is it actually worth getting summoned? Because if I take a summon, then I have to sit through a loading screen. And then, while I'm sitting inside the loading screen, can I, because obviously the Mop Remix speedruns, at least the very fast ones that I did, if you're not familiar, you can find them on my channel. They're really cool. At least I think. I had a lot of fun doing them. I actually had help from, like, 14 people. Those were group speedruns. I normally do solo speedruns, but Mop Remix was, like, so crazy, we were just like, oh, let's go all out. Let's try to organize an entire raid and see how fast we can make leveling. And in those cases, we had to, like, test things such as, how long does it take for the player to actually load into the zone, and at what point after being summoned can you begin to actually start killing mobs so the person who's, you know, the leveling character gets credit. And there's just these weird things where it is the definition of, like, first world problems. And it's kind of funny to have those things pop up where I just don't even consider it, and then I'm doing a speedrun or speedrun test, and suddenly I'm like, wait, I never even thought of this. Like, that's just not something you would ever consider in a regular run. But hey, you know, suddenly when you're trying to squeeze out every last second, it gets really difficult. So for a lot of these runs, there's almost like just a maximum lower bound where you just can't go there. And it is cool that I think in the case of World of Warcraft, we're getting so many like XP modifiers that we are finally starting to see what some of those potential lower bounds are. Where in the past it was like, you always knew that, hey, like if the stars aligned, you can maybe get this run to be ever so slightly faster. You could save like a little bit of time here and there. So like, can I... Yeah, I can get this, but this doesn't give me a quest, for instance, so I don't get, like, any bonus by doing that. Yeah, worth testing. But, like, in the case of Mop Remix, I remember that was one of the things that, biggest examples of this, where I had to kind of explain to people that it doesn't work that way. At the very end of Mop Remix, they did this big scaling change. So, I guess for context, if you didn't follow along with that whole saga, if you're, like, new to my channel, so I got a sub 30-minute Mop Remix speedrun. Sub 30 from like 10 to 70, which 10 was where character started at. So it was effectively a World of Warcraft creation of a character to max level speedrun in under 30 minutes, which is, to my knowledge, the fastest still that has ever happened, which is kind of cool. I'm very much, you know, happy with that. I think I know how I sequence this. And I think I was correct to ditch Isle of Dorn early. This is going to be funky. We do Takrathon next, and then I still have the Delver's Call turn-in, or Dread Pit turn-in. It's not going to be 15 minutes to finish Takrathon. I'm lagging as I move through the zone. Do I get experience for the Skyrunning Glyphs? I didn't think I did, but, you know. They're one time per account, so you never get to retest that. Might as well. And this is also one of those really interesting cases where, for instance, there's a delve over here, the Spiral Weave, that, in theory, I could run that. It's a lot closer than Takrathon Abyss, which is all the way down here. So this is one of those classic cases. I had a long discussion with people in my Discord the other day where somebody was asking about, somebody asked, do I structure my routes based on what gives the most experience per hour? And I tried to explain to them that that's just not how you structure these routes, because there's so many factors that go into it. Like, if you were to stand at the entrance of Takrathon Abyss and Spiral Weave and record which one gave more experience per hour, Takrathon would win. But, you know, there is the argument to be made of Takrathon is all the way here at the bottom of the zone, and it took me a lot of additional travel time to actually get to Takrathon now. So was it actually worth that additional time? And in this case, I do believe it is. Like, as you will see, Takrathon Abyss, especially on this variant, is very fast. It is pretty funny. It's a very funny delve. And I'm so glad that I finally get to show it in a speedrun. And I think this is going to work out perfectly, because my hypothesis for this run, I normally like to have more ideal delve variants before I do a speedrun, but the way I saw it is because we have literally all of the perfect delve variants in the best delves, I get to show you something really cool, which is, if you have enough experience modifiers, and all of the absolute best delves have their absolute best variants, and you just do that, you don't even need to run the crappier delves. Or even, like, the above-average delves. Like, Sinkhole, normally I would consider to be pretty good, but if I'm already level 80, who needs it? That being said, I think if Sinkhole had the ideal variant, which in my opinion is the Rain's Gambit variant, it's my opinion, but also it is just clearly the fastest one. So if it had the really fast variant, then I probably would have skipped a few more Isle of Dorn side quests and run that instead. And that would have been really good. Okay, we got most of the crates destroyed. And now we're on the final boss. And we still have all these mobs chasing me. And this is another thing where, again, Guardian Druid Supremacy. Try doing this on DPS specs. I think I technically pulled off part of this on Devastation Evoker, but it's really tricky. One of the ways that you can do this is you can do all of that stuff, get all the pheromone crates finished, and then after you've opened every pheromone crate and unlocked the final boss, you just jump off a cliff, respawn at the checkpoint, and you're good to go. The thing about Guardian is you can just kill everything. You don't even need to do that. You don't need to die and respawn at the checkpoint. You just can't die. So you just hold W through the delve, everything chases you, and you may be thinking, where are all the other mobs? Surely you killed more. But the thing about Guardian is with Galactic, there's a passive Galactic Guardian. It's what gives me all the free Moonfires. As I'm running through this delve, I am just proccing free Moonfires and murdering the mobs as they chase after me. And they're just getting ripped to shreds by Moonfire. It's glorious. So you don't even need to fight most of them. By the time they get to the end, I mean, you saw how quickly I just fucking shredded all those mobs. It is crazy. Alright. So what is the play here? These quests are not enough to get me all the way there. And I should note, by the way, I think, kind of like I said, where there's an upper bound in terms of how fast you can make a lot of these speedruns. Even if I had a lot of the really cool stuff from live servers, like another thing that I don't have that I didn't really touch upon is when you are on live servers, if you get the special, I think it's the pact with the, I want to say it's the Weaver. One of them gives you a 30% increase to your crafting speed. So the crafting speed bonus that I had from that Dragon Isles flask thing that I mentioned works on Kazilgar stuff too. If I had gotten that 30% crafting buff, I would have been like instantly crafting every single recipe that I pressed create all for. And that part would have gone by super quickly. It would have saved like about a minute. But there are little time saves here and there that I could have gotten. But no matter what, I think the inherent amount of travel time required in this route, sub 1 hour, I don't know if it's possible for this. At least right now. It is entirely possible that later on in the expansion, Blizzard adds a... Here, what I'm going to do is... What am I going to do? Long Hearthstone. It is close. I will say it fucking actually... Now that I say that, we are actually just at 1 hour. I've had some long loading screens. There have been minor time things. I'm barely off. I don't know. It's tight. Also, holy load screen, dude. This another issue with the PTR. I think I mentioned this earlier. Sometimes PTR has very long load screens. I think it has something to do. I'm never sure 100% why. But what I assume happens is if a zone isn't being used by anybody in the world, which like probably doesn't happen a lot, but if that does happen, I think like Blizzard shuts off the zone. And in the case of you know, the PTR, I'm the only person on the server right now. I'm 99% sure about that. If I type /who, well, yeah, obviously /who. Okay, there's two other people, and they're doing something. I don't know what they're doing. There's two other people in the world who are on this PTR right now. Probably like theory crafters doing some testing on a target dummy or something, if I had to guess. Here's what I'll do. There's technically a world quest that is overlapping that kobold's... That is really juicy. Ooh, that's really juicy. What do I do? I think I'm just going to go with my gut instinct and say we do this. We just do, I'm picking up... I always forget which quest is correct. Yeah. And then the other ones are down here. I'll go with my gut instinct and do Rambleshire. Rambleshire is really fast. Oh, hey, there's another pumpkin. As you can see, by the way, pumpkins really had no impact on the overall route time. I got, like, how much extra experience? 30,000? That's, like, one quest? Wow. Because it's not even, like, a full normal quest's worth. It is very, very trivial. But yeah, we have 3 effectively wanted quests here. This is very efficient. So, my gut tells me this is the correct play. This honestly might just be enough. And if not, we can do like one other quest. This is a very fast sequence of mob kills. Yeah, maybe sub 1 hour is possible. Fuck. It's funny because I didn't even consider this. My hopeful time was 1 hour 15 minutes. You obviously, like, deep down hope. You hope that sub 1 is maybe doable. But this is like, the stars have to align. Though technically it is worth noting that because the Hollow's End stuff plays basically no role whatsoever. How much does each of these give? 27,000. It's not going to be enough. So if I do the intro quests here... Here's what I'm thinking. I do this stuff, and then I should be able to get credit from the kobolds while I do this quest. And that should give me maybe enough? And then worst case scenario, if that's just barely not enough, then I come back here and finish the rest of this chain after I turn in Rambleshire. I mean, look at Guardian Druid. Look at Guardian Druid. Look at how fucking insane this spec is. I fucking love Guardian, dude. It's kind of funny because I've been using this for speedruns for such a long time. I've always said that it's like an S-tier speedrunning class. But... oh, man. Did I not get credit for the world quest? Oh, because, yeah, it's only this. Okay, so we do this, yeah. And then we also get the bonus objective, because the bonus objective I knew did not count the stuff below. Wasn't sure if they did that for the world quest, but yeah, it seems like the same code for bonus objective and world quest. Exactly the same. So we just do this. I think, yeah, I can actually triple dip on all of that. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I've been using Guardian Druid in, for speedruns for a very, very, very long time. Wait, that actually gave so much experience. Oh my god. It didn't even properly register that the quest was complete. Okay, shit. Yeah, that was definitely the play. I shouldn't have even wasted time going to Rambleshire. If I fly back in, I'm gonna get the world quest completed. Yep. Okay, shh, dude. I'm wondering if there was... the problem is I can't really redo the speedrun, right? By the time that it... is this it? It's time. Holy shit. That's still good. That is still pretty fucking good. Oh my god. Like, my gut tells me sub 1 hour is possible, and my gut's never wrong in that stuff. Like, the entire thing with Mop Remix that I was talking about, which I think I kind of cut myself off, but I got a sub 30 speedrun. It was 29 minutes, 26 seconds. That was, of course, with Remix. And then later in the event, Blizzard massively nerfed the experience requirements for the later levels. And I had a ton of people telling me, oh my god, this is like such a colossal XP reduction. Are you going to go for a 15-minute speedrun? But what a lot of those people don't realize is that at a certain point, well, I definitely could have shaved off more time if I wanted to. Its main issue there was organizing all 15 or so people again to do the speedrun, which I just didn't have the energy to do. We had already done it. I was happy with our time. I didn't want to attempt it again. Maybe if it comes back, who knows? But what a lot of people didn't realize is that, like, the logistical side of things of getting my character moved from point A to point B and also, like, waiting on mobs to respawn in some cases. Like, if you're killing things so quickly that the only limiting factor is how long does it take to, like, get into an instance, travel from point A to point B and stuff, you just hit this barrier where there is no amount of XP increase that will save that time. You just cannot go faster. So if I had done everything, like, at the end of Mop Remix perfectly, maybe I could have gone, like, sub 25, but that would have assumed absolutely perfect with the XP increase, and that's, even that's bold. That said, in the case of the sub 30 run for Mop Remix, every single person told me I was fucking insane. I wanted to do a very fast speedrun, and so many, like, all the people who were helping me were like, what's your projected time? Like, are we going for, you know, sub 40 minutes or something like that? I'm like, no, fucking sub 30. Because at that time, 45 minutes had been done, and everybody thought, oh, we can get sub 40 easily. And I said, sub 30, I've done the math. I mean, it's napkin math, right? You can't actually perfectly math out a run, but you can string together like little segments and think, if we optimize this a little bit more, it could be possible. And same thing here. I'm looking at this, and while going into this, I didn't really think that sub 1 hour would be possible. I definitely think now it's... And the other thing Because I didn't have perfect Delve RNG, right? So I still think that maybe sub 1 hour would have been possible with this setup, right? If I had all the stuff from live servers, if I had the crafting increase, if I had, you know, the skip to the little lever thing unlocked, which I guess I should probably do that now. Well, after the speedrun, you know, I'll do that on my own time, just for future runs. I didn't even think of that, but that is kind of annoying things about that. I don't have brand curios. It didn't even occur to me that all of those things wouldn't be unlocked on the PTR, because this is the first actual PTR test run I've done. All the other runs I've done have been on live servers, but I figure, hey, if we are going to try to optimize this, got to start setting up PTR stuff. So that could save time, and I think if I do all of that, and I clean up the routing a little bit, but then I guess the question is, what part of the routing do you clean up? I wonder if there's ever a case to be made for just, like, cutting out the campaign stuff. The campaign stuff is really nice because it makes it more efficient to do Earthcrawl mines with, but I guess a theoretical best possible setup, would that even matter? I'm not sure. One thing that I think absolutely could have guaranteed that this was sub 1 hour is if Fungal Folly had the good version, or if Sinkhole had the good version. Because if during the Isle of Dorn section I had been able to do Fungal Folly right out of the gate, that would have meant I wouldn't have had to come back here and do these side quests, which I think may have been enough. And if Sinkhole had the ideal variant, which is Rain's Gambit, that one's very fast, then when I went into Ringing Deeps, I could have done Ringing Deeps, and one of the other things why not having the lever actually kind of loses me about a minute or two, it's more than you might realize, because it may not seem bad, right? I didn't have the lever, but I used the wormhole generator, and I went here. That doesn't seem terrible, but one of the things that I could have done is, like, I had to fly all the way over here. A lot of times when I do this, I also don't have the guild Hearthstone reduction, so that would have made things a little bit trickier. There's so many things on the PTR I didn't even realize. You don't think about this until you start a speedrun. But I'm missing actually more things than I thought. I don't know. Maybe it might be worth to try and shore up some of these things for the next run. But if I had taken the lever, what could have happened is I would have gone over here, I would have done the waterworks, turned it in, set my Hearthstone to Gundergauze, flown over here, done Dread Pit, flown down here, done the turn-in, Hearthstone to Gundergauze, and then I would have been able to just progress through. And then I could have done Skittering Breach, I could have done the Sinkhole, and then I would have turned in Sinkhole here, turned in Skittering Breach here. And I'm pretty far away from Azkahed at this point, because, like, in this run, obviously I had to fly all the way down. So instead of having to use the wormhole generator to go into Ringing Deeps, what I could have done is done a wormhole to Azkahed. There is technically a very low chance, and this is, of course, RNG, where, like, yeah, if that hits, you save 2 minutes, which is huge. If the wormhole takes me straight to Takrathon, which is a location, that could be nice. But even if it took me to, let's say, Underkeep, that's a very quick flight to Takrathon, and I got to turn in the quest here. And then within the Weaver's Lair, you have a fast travel point back to Dornagal. So I could have just immediately gone back here, and then if I wanted to do Isle of Dorn quests, let's say this subzone or Rambleshire, it would have taken me right here, and I would have been even closer than the Hearthstone and Freywald Village. So yeah, now that I actually say it out loud, I think all of those things in combination, theoretically, would shave off 5 minutes. But man, that would be close. The Fungal Folly one is better, but that's the kind of issue with Delves. I had to wait all week just to get this to pop up, and because, like, right now it's technically Wednesday. It's very early morning Thursday, so I have the Wednesday set of Delves. But I checked this on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday, and all of the Delve combinations were just trash for these 3 days, so I just couldn't do a run. And then I checked on Wednesday, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, there's solid options. I can do a run. But then one of the other issues is you also have to wait for the bonus to roll around in the Dream Surge zone. That's another thing that makes this really annoying. So during the, like, middle of the day, Wednesday, I sat around for hours waiting for that 30% XP buff to roll around, and it just didn't. And then I had Raid. And Yeah, I had to go to raid. That's 3 hours. And then in like 2 hours after raid ended, so I started this run at 5 a.m. and it's now 6 a.m. The buff finally popped up and I'm like, ah, crap. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't, because then, if the buff never appeared, then at least I could be like, fate has decided that I'm not speedrunning today. But if I see that buff pop up, you know, I gotta suck it up and do the speedrun, even if it is 5 in the morning and I'm kind of tired. So I made another mug of coffee and sat down and we got to work. And now I gotta fucking upload this run. So I gotta stay up a little later and try to get all that stuff sorted. That's fun. But it'll be worth it. I think this will be a nice surprise, because I don't think people were expecting me to do yet another speedrun after the Evoker one. But I figured, especially with all the buffs going on, it is probably worth doing. And then tomorrow I'm going to try, or well, Thursday, middle of the day, I'm going to try to do a 10 to 70 run, and we'll see how fast I can do that. And don't know if that'll work out. If it does, maybe I post it over the weekends. So maybe that's something to look forward to. And I do want to do a 1 to 80 run at some point. So I thought about it, and if I'm going to do either a 10 to 80 run or a 1 to 80 run, I've done so many like 10 to max level runs in the past that I think it would be cool to change things up and start at level 1 this time. And I want to do that, but I think setting up and running 3 different speedruns in the same week is going to be kind of a monumental undertaking, and I need a breather, especially because I just finished my guide earlier this week, and that was a lot of work, and I'm still very tired. It's been a lot. So I finished my guide. I did 1 speedrun, doing a second. I think a third might kill me, so I don't think we're going to do that. But like I said, you can see here, the anniversary buff isn't going away. It says, I think it's actually interesting that it says it ends on the 20th. That is incorrect. But what's funny about this is, I wonder if they're going to update this with later patches. The anniversary buff runs until January, but the PTR has the old date, which, the anniversary used to not be... Oh, I know what happened. Oh, you know what? Because this PTR has been up for a while, they started the anniversary event back in September, and it looks like it has a fixed runtime. So whenever they open this up for testing back in September, the runtime extends, but then it ends here. Instead of, on live servers, it started sometime in October, and then it runs all the way to January. That's funny. I never even thought about the implications of that. That's so silly. That means that I won't be able to do the 1 to 80 test run on the PTR. Or actually, you know what? I might be able to do it on the 11.0.7 PTR, because this is the 11.0.5 PTR, which that technically is open, but then that would be a whole other headache. But the plan, when this is working as intended, the anniversary buff will still be active this week, and again, everything that is active normally. Actually, I wonder what Delve's bonus event does. Does Delve's... I think the Delve bonus event only gives you increased Delver's Call, or Delver's Journey progress. I don't know if that gives you more XP from leveling in Delves. I forgot to test that whenever it was up. If so, that would actually be kind of fun. Be a neat potential thing to consider. But yeah, for the 1 to 80 run, I'm going to do that, largely because the odds of us getting another set of really good delves within the next like 2 days for me to do a 1 to 80 run are low, because then I would need to not only have optimal RNG for like or an optimal like week for the 1 to 70 stuff, but then I would need to make sure that all of the delve RNG on that day is good, because the 70 to 80 part would be included. I'm rambling here, I'll cut myself off. You get the point. All that to say, as we get closer to this week, what I will probably do is I'm going to put up a poll to let you guys pick what race I play for the 1 to 80 thing. And I think I might actually not do Exile's Reach, because Exile's Reach I could do for a 1 to 80 run, but I've done Exile's Reach a million times before. It's very formulaic. It's kind of boring. It's one of the main reasons I don't do 1 to 80. So one of the things that I actually think would be a little bit more interesting is to see, potentially, if you optimize it perfectly within a speedrun context, is there a 1 to, like another race's 1 to 10 start that would be faster in the context of leveling from 1 to 80. And what I mean by that is the issue with Exile's Reach is it gives you exactly enough experience to hit level 10, but you can't really speed it up past a certain point. So you're going to be locked into Exile's Reach for 20 minutes. So in theory, if I managed to, like, even if I had to front load stuff, like, let's say I had to do a few one-time sources of experience that I would normally save for later, like, I don't know if I can do Dragonflight crafting early. I might not be able to. I think that might require Chromie time. But if I can find a way to get up to level 10 in under the amount of time that it would take to do Exile's Reach, which is like 20 to 30 minutes ballpark, then that would actually be better, because then all of the roleplay that happens at the end of Exile's Reach, which normally people don't include in their 1 to 10 Exile's Reach speedruns, wouldn't be a factor, and I could jump straight into Chromie time. So I think that'll be interesting, and because I really haven't tested that a ton, because generally, it doesn't matter. I do allied race speedruns because they're more fun. But I think it would be cool to let you guys pick that. So that'll be a poll. Poll's not going to be soon, right? Because this run's going to be first week of December. And right now it's first week of November. So keep an eye out for that poll sometime around here. I'll probably mention it in my Discord. Anyways, I've rambled long enough. If you have yet to check out my 70 to 80 leveling guide, which of course is, I say loosely based on this speedrun, because the problem is, you're not going to have a lot of these experience modifiers, but in my leveling guide, I cover all of the stuff that I do in this run and then more. There's like a ton of stuff on like additional things you can do in Isle of Doran, different delves. Like I mentioned, Fungal Folly sometimes is worth it. In this run, it wasn't worth it. Well, I will go into why Fungal Folly sometimes isn't worth it in more detail and when you should consider doing this delve and every single other delve. I even have a separate video that I'll link in the description of a delve tier list that I made on my second channel. 1 hour long, but it goes into excruciating detail on every single variant. And that's where I talk about things like the variant that we did for Dread Pit, Smashing Skarden, why that is so good and why it's worth doing. Because, well, as you saw, it's very fast and it gives you a ton of mob kill XP, so really good. So all that stuff covered in those videos. If you have yet to check that out, go watch it. I put a lot of effort into it. I think it's really good and really helpful, and hopefully you think so too. But yeah, I'll end it there. Had fun with this run. Maybe some 1 hour is possible. I'll probably try it again at some point in the future, but we'll have to see. It's a lot of work to set up one of these runs. Maybe this is like a next anniversary. We take a crack at it again, and we stay happy with the 1 hour, 5 minutes for now. But anyways, I'll end it here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.